Good time of day, guys. My name is Godzi, and welcome to the Higurashi When They Cry console arcs. Yes, like I've said several times before, I'm gonna read all of them. Every single fucking one. Is it gonna be painful? It's probably gonna be painful. Some of them. I've heard some of them are really, really good. I've heard others are questionable. So that's fun, but we'll suffer together. We will suffer together, that is for sure. So yeah, been a long time since I finished Matsuribayashi. I believe that was at the beginning of 2021 that I finished that. And it is now October 2023. Or was it, no, it was early 22. Right? I can't fucking remember. Doesn't really matter too much, though. It's been too long, is my point. No, it had to have been. Yeah, it had to have been 2021. Yeesh. No, I think I'm stupid. It doesn't really matter, though. So yeah, my only issue with this series that I'm hoping the air can be cleared on right now is I don't know how many things to cover, because right now, I'm, as you can clearly see, just on the 7th mod, I forget exactly what it's called, patch for the Steam release of Ray, which I believe has 3 of the console arcs. So once we're done with this, I don't know where to go from there, so please do tell me. I do remember before this one came out on Steam that the mod launcher said that you can put the console arcs over Himatsubushi. I don't know if that's still a viable option now, and there was an announcement a few days ago that another bit of the console arcs, is getting released on Steam as well soon, and that's fucking crazy to me. But yeah, regardless, here we are. So if you're new to me doing visual novels on my channel, I apologize for anyone who enjoys voices, for I do my own. I will do my own. And I'm still gonna be using, the console sprites. I know some of them are kinda ugly, but that's what I'm used to with reading it. Yes, the old ones have a lot of charm, and I love them, but, I mean, that's just how it's gonna be for this, okay? So, yeah, I don't know what else to really say other than, let's go. Okay, so there's 3 here. Saikoroshi, Hirokawashi, and Batsukoishi. So the worst option, the strongest pursuer of love, and the most awful daydream. I feel like, if I remember correctly, Saikoroshi is one that people say is really good? I'm not sure. And I don't think I've heard of the other 2, but I don't want spoilers. I will say that. Yeah, unlike my regular playthrough of Higurashi where I did the 8 main chapters, yes, I did initially watch the anime for that, and I have also seen the anime for Rei and Kira back then. God forbid Kira. If those are all console arcs, that's gonna be the biggest fucking source of pain in my life. Are you kidding me? Oh god, I didn't even consider that. I don't know if that's original content or derived from the console arcs, but don't tell me. Please don't tell me. I do not want spoilers for any of these because this is my first time reading each of these, and I don't remember jack shit from Rei. Kira, I remember like it's a fucking plague in my brain. That shit was ridiculous. It wasn't as torturing as a lot of people claimed it to be, because my tolerance for anime bullshit is pretty high. But that was a lot of anime bullshit. So, yeah, regardless, we'll start with the one on the top. Oh, it actually shows what each of them are. Okay, well, we'll just look at this. Saikoroshi. This is a tale of Furude Rika reaching the summer of 1983. Her power allows her to choose one of many worlds, but is this world truly the best one for her? The difficulty here is malicious for all you deer connoisseurs who prefer it that way. Well, I mean, I already know the answers, so it's like, whatever, unless there's some new mystery to the console arcs, which I feel like I would have heard of. Because I think a lot of these are like supplementary arcs to console releases of the game in addition to the main 8, right? I believe. So, whatever, let's do this. Don't laugh in my ear, you stupid child. Bread rained down from the heavens. Some lamented that it was not meat. Meat rained down from the heavens. Some lamented that they preferred bread. God descended down from the heavens. Until I know what will make all happy, water shall rain down. Frederica Berncastle. Holy shit, it's her. This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons or organizations is entirely coincidental. That's good. So that way, when I'm inspired to murder someone IRL based on this, it's going to, they aren't going to be held liable. That's good. Alright. Let's fucking go. The cicadas' chorus had been growing increasingly lively. The strange weather during that never-ending June had been hot enough to make us feel like summer had come early. I feel like the font is different from the other ones. I'll get used to it, though. But even so, it was still only June. It's actually October. Catch up. Once we got closer to summer in July, the season graced us with even more summery weather. Summer starts in June. Is that different in Japan? The summer solstice should be the same day, bucko. Whatever. You are in the northern hemisphere, after all. At least 98% of you. I don't know if any's below the equator. I don't think so, right? No, yeah, that'd be silly. Anyways, today, to fulfill my dream, we all went to play at the swimming pool. Okay. The dream might have seemed humble at first, but I didn't have to look back on the 100 years journey it took to achieve it anymore. What swimming pool? Who the fuck's got a pool in this town? Still, I decided I shouldn't forget about it. For many people, this was a perfectly ordinary day. But for me, it had taken so many years of wandering just to get here that it made me feel faint. And remembering it made this seemingly average, regular life fill me with such profound happiness. This is the baseball court. This is not a pool. Unless you like swimming in sand. Whatever. Hi, Mion. Wow! Not bringing a camera today must be Mion Sonozaki's greatest failure. Hi, Rena.
I don't need a camera. I've burned this into my memory already. When I close my eyelids, I can still see how cute Keiichi looks.
What's up with him? Yeah! Don't look at them! Don't! I'll file your eyelids off your face! That's what you get for forgetting to bring your swimsuit to the pool. Oh, okay. And the whole ruckus about you putting on those shady swim trunks, too? From beginning to end, you reap what you sow. Did I read that line right? I don't know.
Keiichi, you should thank me. Not me, though. That me. Other... If she hadn't brought those swan underpants, your swan would have been swinging all over. Nipa.
You guys are children. Boy, was that a joy to behold. I didn't plan anything specific for today, and just when I was thinking we'd play some nice, quiet pool games. Well, with this group, it would be stranger if something didn't happen. No, that's definitely wrong. If you hadn't planned anything, you wouldn't have bothered to bring those embarrassing swan underpants here in the first place. You were scheming, looking for some excuse to get me to wear them. I'm sure of it. I vaguely remember a Kira episode based on this. All right, so we're fucked, right? This is a Kira arc. I'm so mad.
But today was really fun, so I'm totally satisfied. I am. It certainly was fun. On that point, I quite agree.
Satoko smiled at me, looking for my agreement. So I sent her back just as brilliant a smile, expressing just how much fun all the romping about today had been. Don't go back, don't go back. Okay. As we all reminisced on our romp at the pool today, we got on our bikes and started on our way home. Okay. Maybe that's a different art. I'm confused now. Are they gonna flashback to it or some shit? Because I remember that was covered in Kira. I think. There was some really fucking weird pool episode. I don't know. Hinamizawa didn't have any pools, so we'd gone to a public pool in Okinomiya. Yeah, that makes sense. There was an elevation difference between the two communities, and while going downhill had been very pleasant, we had a long trip upward on our way back. For Hinamizawa children at the zenith of their energy, it wasn't much of a chore, but we naturally fell silent as we quietly pedaled up the hill. Seeing everyone so silent made me want to screw things up somehow. Messing with Satoko at times like these was so much fun for me that you could call it the very purpose of my existence, based. Oh, CG already? I pedaled harder, caught up to Satoko's bicycle as she pedaled in silence, and gave her a nudge on the shoulder.
Rika! Me.
After pretending to be mean to Satoko, I sped up. Of course, she sped up too and chased after me. Satoko struggled to somehow nudge me back, but I was no slouch either. Our speeds naturally increased, and we began to quickly pass the others in the group. What's this? A race? This old man won't lose either.
You shouldn't fool around on the road. It's dangerous, Rika-chan, Satoko-chan.
This was a public road and cars sometimes came and went. But we'd lived here a long time, so we knew not many cars came around at this hour. And then in came Oishi, right?
Rika! A car is coming! Me. I won't fall for that trick.
So when Satoko said that, I thought she was just trying to distract me. Then I hit a car and died. A car horn? Sinister music suddenly. When I heard it, I realized Satoko's warning wasn't a trick. But it was so sudden that I was overtaken with surprise. When I looked in front of me, the car was right there. I panicked and violently swung my handlebars. The motion was more than aggressive and sudden enough to throw me off balance. As my body lurched forward, I realized I was flying through the air. My nose caught the whiff of asphalt, telling me I was a moment away from being hurt.
Rika!
I heard Satoko shriek. No, the sensation I was experiencing was so unreal that I could only say I thought I heard her. I couldn't even figure out if the sight of the car coming towards me as I hurtled through the air was real. But that absence of reality probably only lasted about 1 second. I wasn't even given the time to say, oops. And then she died. Okay, lovely. What an arc. That was fun. Alright, see you guys next episode. I heard the cries of Higurashi in the distance. In those cries dwelt such cool tenderness that I wanted to listen forever. Eventually, the silence was broken. The sound of many footsteps approached, pulling my mind back to reality. Suddenly, the cries of the Higurashi were gone. The cries filling the room were that of cicadas. I thought I'd been hearing the Higurashi this whole time. Was that a dream? I was in a bed. I didn't recognize the ceiling. Where was I? The clinic, I'm assuming? The room was small, with an office desk and shelves full of medicine. I recognized the smell of that medicine, and the voices of children mixing with the cicadas' cries. I knew right away. I was at school. Oh. Okay. I was in bed at the nurse's office. Hi, Chie. The door opened and Chie appeared. Behind her was Satoko and... Huh? My mind went blank. It was the face of someone who couldn't have been there. Who?
Are you alright, Furude-san? Ah, thank goodness. I was really worried. The doctor should be here soon. Please stay in bed until then.
Oh! Okay. This is odd.
Thank goodness. I really was worried.
My mind was still blank. Dazed, I kept staring at his face as he spoke words of concern. This person could not possibly be at school in 1983.
Satoshi. Are you okay? You still don't look very good. Stay in bed until the doctor gets here.
That aside, Satoko Hojo-san, where are you hiding? Chie raised her voice and turned back towards the hallway before Satoko poked her face out, looking as though she was sulking.
I didn't throw it that hard. Furude-san is just exaggerating.
That isn't how you apologize. Say sorry to Furude-san. I sensed something a little strange about Satoko's tone and mood. In any case, judging by the situation, Satoko had done something to me, and as a result, I'd been carried to the nurse's office. So we're in a different world now? A different fragment? Where Satoko and Rika clearly aren't friends? Otherwise, why would she call her Furude-san instead of Rika? That's how it looked to me. But didn't I pass out after falling off my bike on the way home from Okinomiya with everyone? Come here, Satoko-san. Chie called Satoko in a firm voice. Chie called Satoko Satoko-san before Satoshi went missing. The only time there were two people named Hojo was when Satoko and Satoshi were both here together. In other words, before June 1982. Then, was this the past? Okay, or you're just in the past. Was I repeating everything again? I felt a chill start to crawl through me. I'd gone through all that hardship to get past June of 1983, and now the world had rewound to the past again. The dead end of June 1983 that I challenged for over 100 years and finally broke through. Would I have to defeat it again? I certainly learned many things and defeated my fate with certain willpower, but I was also saved by a lot of luck. So this is post-Matsuri Bayashi, okay. There was no proof I could challenge June 1983 again and defeat it like I did last time. Which meant I was probably hit by that car in the bike accident and killed. And just before dying, I had rejected death and rewound the world. That's a power you have, I guess, okay. The way that unrealistic memory cut off was definitely similar to when I'd rewound the world previously. Then, would I have to undertake a terribly long journey again? That can't be. The idea was infinitely terrifying. As it dawned upon me, I felt as though my vision was growing distant. I still hadn't fully understood just how terrifying this was just yet. Come, Satoko. You need to apologize.
Furude-san, I'm sorry for throwing the ball at you, but you were just standing there and being in the way.
Satoko's apology was strange. It wasn't even an apology, really. It literally sounded like an excuse. She looked at Chie and Satoshi, wondering if that was enough. It didn't seem like Satoko had any intention of apologizing for throwing the ball at me. Because Satoko wasn't even looking at me. Not really. It was like I didn't belong in her world. She never treated me this coldly before. Huh. And before anything else, she's talking strangely. Alright, I'm just going to say this now. Should I casually spoil things? I guess not. I'm not gonna do that, actually, just in case. I want to make my series accessible. It didn't seem like the situation that had befallen me was a rewind to so far in the past that Satoshi was still around. Something else had happened. Something bizarre that I didn't understand. That's how I felt as I listened to the odd way Satoko was talking. Okay, I will say this about spoilers. I'm obviously going to casually spoil the 8 main arcs of Higurashi, so yeah, I'm just warning you now in case you've made it this far into the episode already without suspecting that would be the case anyways. That's how I felt as I listened to the odd way Satoko was talking. She sounded far more normal than the Satoko I knew. Normal? Satoko made a face, like reading out a standard written apology was enough, then ran off into the hallway. I checked the clock. It was right in the middle of afternoon break. She was probably rushing back to the schoolyard because she didn't want to miss any more playtime. As she turned her back on me and ran away, I suddenly felt very cold and sad. If the Satoko I knew had hurt me enough to put me in the nurse's office, she would have stayed with me the entire time. Her footsteps vanished before she'd even looked at me once. It didn't seem like she hated me. Felt like she wasn't even interested. What was happening? What year and what month was it right now anyway? Hanyu was nowhere to be found. Despite wanting to know, no calendar or anything like one was nearby, so it didn't seem like I could find out right now. Most normal people would give you a strange look if you asked what the year and month were, and I'd learned from my long journey that I had to be careful about that. Instead, I decided to push that question aside for the moment. Sorry, Rika-chan. I'll make sure to talk to Satoko later. I'm sure she asked you to play with her because you seemed lonely.
Thanks. I'm not worried about it anymore, so it's okay.
As Satoko's older brother, Satoshi, apologized in her stead, he seemed no different from the Satoshi I knew. Alright, I'm going to get going then.
Thank you, Satoshi.
Anytime. Satoshi gave a little wave of his hand, turned, and left the nurse's office. Where's Chie? Then, a new set of footsteps approached in his place. From their pace and sound, it wasn't a child. It was probably Coach. Chie had called for him.
Ah, Doctor. I'm sorry to call you out so suddenly. She just woke up a few minutes ago.
Is that right? That's good, that's good. It was a throaty voice. It wasn't Irie? Oh? The man who suddenly appeared was one I'd never seen in the clinic or even at the Irie Institute. It's Nanjo! He was a large man with round curves, the exact opposite of Irie. The stubble on his face made him seem rugged. He was so distinct that I wouldn't forget him even if I'd only met him once. And yet I had no recollection of him. But he was wearing a white robe, and Chie had called him the doctor from the clinic. So he must have been a doctor from the Irie clinic, but I never met him before. Hey, Rika-chan! You sure went through a lot. Did the ball hit you in the back of the head? Would you mind if I took a look?
Me.
Okay, I think I know what's going on then. I think? So, I'd assume Takano and Co. aren't in town. Like, this is some weird world line where Hinamizawa syndrome never became a problem, I guess? That's my guess. Without waiting for an answer, the mountaineerish doctor felt around the back of my head. His fingers were uncultured, completely different from Irie's delicate hands. Could you show me your eyes? Yep, you seem alright. Do you have a headache or anything? Any nausea or dizziness?
No.
I think you're probably fine then. Just to be sure, we'll take you to the clinic and look at your brainwaves. Still, as far as I can see, there's no problem at all. The doctor laughed uproariously, spraying spittle everywhere. Ew. Chie gave a look of relief too, as if that was a sign there were no problems, but they're still checking her brainwaves? Is that normal in Japan or something? Is that normal anywhere else in the world? Doesn't happen where I live. If someone in my school bonked their head, they'd just be like, okay, well, we're not calling the town doctor because we don't have one, but go to the nurse and come back when you're fine.
I see. Then, just to be safe, I'll leave her in your care. Furude-san, please go with the doctor to the clinic.
Indeed! You'll be in and out before afternoon hours begin. Let's go! The big doctor, acting too familiar for my tastes, pushed me out the door. And before I could fight my feeling of wrongness, I was taken out of the nurse's office. What was this world? Sometimes the dice came up with strange numbers and caused little differences. But this was the first world that felt this wrong to me. Did the dice rolls turn up something rare? After repeating this world for over 100 years, I thought I'd figured out pretty much every event, and yet this all felt so strange to me. There was something immeasurable about how strange it was, and I couldn't help but feel intensely anxious. I put my shoes on at the entrance before being taken to a parked car in front of the school gate. All the while, I stared at the big man's back as he walked, racking my brains trying to remember him, but I couldn't come up with anything. No matter how much I thought back, I couldn't recall any man like this in the Mountain Dogs, much less the Irie Institute. If Satoshi was here, that meant it had to be before June 1982. Hanyu would always be there as soon as I woke up, and she'd tell me what was going on in that world. But in this world, I haven't seen Hanyu even once. I guess because it's a world Takano never challenged her in? The radiant sunlight, the annoying cicada cries, the lively voices of my classmates. I knew them all so well. But something was different. It almost made me sick. Hanyu, where am I? What kind of world is this? Hanyu didn't answer me. Fine then. If I went home and opened a bottle of wine, she'd be sure to come rushing in. Your parents are gonna be alive, aren't they? Not once had she ever allowed me a few elegant minutes to myself. Okay, Rena is here. So, that's not changed. I was about to say, like, they haven't shown, Rena or Mion yet, but here's Rena.
Mi-chan, take this!
Ha! Too slow. The most important rule of dodgeball is to go for the weaklings. Aiming for me was a tactical mistake. No, you're supposed to get the big dogs out. That was always my strategy back in school. That was the only gym sport I ever really paid any attention to, and I was pretty decent at it. I won't lie. There was one time when I was a freshman, we're going on a side tangent now. Back when I was a freshman, one of the seniors threw the ball directly at me as I was running backward, and I don't know, it just curved around me. Like, the momentum just shifted in midair. I have a force field. You can't get me. I'm that good. And I would just bide my time and try to catch more than throw. I was the type to roll the balls across the center line. I was that asshole. And the next slowest one is you!
Ow!
I saw several classmates playing a game of dodgeball. Mion and Rena were there in the crowd. Rena? Any world where Rena was present was later than April 1982. And Satoshi disappeared from the village in June 1982. The only time Rena and Satoshi could be here at the same time was the short span from April to June of 1982. It didn't seem like I'd gone as far into the past as I'd feared. But I still had to repeat the June of 1983. That hadn't changed. Did I have to complete those long, difficult days of nothing but strife yet again? Teaming up with my friends, trusting each other, grappling with our suspicions of each other, believing in miracles and fighting alongside everyone, and all the coincidences in the world to help save us. So is Keiichi also gonna show up? That'd be so funny. If we missed any one of those elements of the process, this world would end in horrific tragedy. I'd gotten past this dead end before. This was the second time, so I understood a little of how to fight against Takano's group. So I probably wouldn't have to spend another whole 100 years. Even still, it would definitely take several of those years, if not dozens. But I never wanted to spend another day in that June of 1983 ever again. The despair I felt at reaching the goal once, then getting kicked back to the start, I got into the man's car, and as it bumped over the rough roads, I sorted out the situation I was in. That day in July 1983. I went to have a good time at the pool with everyone, and on the way home, there was an accident, and I died. And right before dying, I used the power I never thought I'd have to use again to turn back time once more. This world was probably in June of 1982. It was considerably hot, so the Watanagashi festival couldn't be far off. That meant the countdown to Satoshi's disappearance had already begun. Earlier in the nurse's office, he'd given me kind and considerate words, but an unyielding darkness would have to... I can't read! But an unyielding darkness would have been starting to take control of his heart. His fear of his inescapable terminal illness's footsteps. I thought back to how the Hojo siblings had looked in the nurse's office, and to Satoko and Satoshi's everyday sibling relationship. It would cease to be an everyday thing in just another few days or weeks. Satoko's somewhat cold treatment of me had hurt. When I remembered that, I felt pity for her. Satoko. For now, at least, treasure that time. Your relationship with Satoshi is limited. That cruel fact hadn't been overruled a single time in any of these 100 years of worlds. In other words, it was inevitable. I could only sympathize with the fate awaiting Satoko now. Eventually, the Irie clinic came into view. For some reason, it was a Texas Roadhouse, and then we went further down the road, and further. There was also a Dollar General, and now I'm very confused. Where the hell are we? Every time I saw it, I was struck by its magnificence. It was almost too much for Hinamizawa. But this time, the clinic building felt a little dull, as though affected by the sadness coloring my heart. The car came to a stop in the employee parking lot near the back entrance. Can you walk? Are you feeling well?
Meep. I'm perfectly fine. I don't think I need a brain scan.
Head injuries are scary because some take a while to do anything. We'll play it safe and get you scanned. If it's nothing, you can go back for afternoon class. This was the first time I'd met this strange doctor, but he didn't seem unreliable. Maybe the cloudiness in my expression made me look like I was worried my injury was serious, and that was why he tried to cheer me up. His attempt at encouragement was off base, but for now I told myself that he wasn't a bad person at least. The air inside the clinic smelled unfamiliar to me. Inside, it was the same clinic as the one I knew, but something was different. On the whole, it felt old, like I'd find cobwebs if I looked, and I recognized none of the nurses we passed. The only people I knew were some elderly villagers chatting as they watched TV in the waiting room. Is that you, Rika-chan? What happened? Do you have a cold? Someone during recess threw a ball and it hit her in the back of the head. Figured we should do a scan to make sure. Head injuries can be scary. I lost my wife that way. She got hit in the back of the head with a dodgeball too. Whoa, how? Where the fuck were you? We were just walking by the school and then some green-haired girl just, hucked it. She put a needle in it too, I don't know why. But you're young, so I'm sure 1 or 2 balls to the head is nothing. The old people laughed aloud, as though rubbing some spit on the bump would fix it. Something about their behavior was strange too. The people I knew would get out their beads, start praying, and make a big fuss just because I got a bump on the head. 'Cause you're not the head of the Furude family. Maybe they'd say 1 or 2 balls is fine because you're young, if I were a normal child. But for me in particular, in Hinamizawa, that was impossible. This all seemed very wrong. Something huge, something I couldn't ignore was different about this world. Rika-chan, come in, come in. After the large man went straight into the examination room, he called me in. Oops. The Queen Carrier had come for an examination, and the next logical step was that Irie, the director, would appear. But he hadn't appeared yet. The discomfort I'd been feeling this whole time got even stronger. And then I spotted something odd. It was a notice from the hospital hung in the waiting room. It's not called Irie, is it? Please be sure to bring your insurance card on your first checkup of the month. Takano Clinic. Is this... Wait. This guy's not Hifumi, right? Huh? Takano Clinic? I looked around at the other notices hung about the waiting room. All of them had Takano Clinic written at the end. Not a single one said Irie Clinic. Where am I? Rika-chan, come on in. We're burning daylight. I heard the man's deep voice from the examination room again. I ignored him and burst out the front entrance. Why? Because I wanted to know. To know the name of this clinic. Did they change the CG too? I can't read Japanese. Takano Clinic. It looked exactly like the Irie Clinic I knew. But there it was. The answer to why everything felt so out of place. Where is this? I could feel the strength drain from my body. My legs gave out, and I sat. For a while, I stared dumbly up at the name that was inexplicably different. I'm not sure how long I stayed like that. Eventually, the big doctor from before and a nurse came running out. They asked me if I suddenly felt sick, and if I didn't answer, they would annoyingly get even more concerned. My water bottle's like right next to my hand, and it's making my hand cold from the radiation of the water. Yeah, I drink radiated water, nuclear. It's very fun. So, somewhat offhandedly, I lied that I felt a little dizzy for a moment. But they must have thought the vertigo pointed to a symptom of something. They picked me up and brought me into the examination room, hooked me up to an EEG terminal, and told me to rest.
It's really nothing. I thought this would be annoying, so I tried to run away. Then I tripped and fell.
It's the doctor's job to decide if it's nothing. Please lay down until I say it's okay. Understand? I felt like the more I tried to say, the more complicated things would get. So for now, I decided to play along so I could get out of there. You know, I'm glad this isn't that Kira arc. I'm very glad. Seems like they just extrapolated that out of this already way more interesting arc.
Doctor? Is there a doctor named Irie here?
What? Who did you say?
Irie.
Irie? Is that your family, Dr. Rika-chan? What hospital does he work at? We're getting nowhere. Is Irie not in this world? Well, at least not here. Wasn't he from Tokyo? Compared to everything the other adults like Akasaka and Kasai did during the long battle of June 19th, Irie's presence might have seemed to matter little, but it was still extremely important that he was around. Because otherwise, he wouldn't have known about the broken camera that no one was standing guard to watch. Without his determination to sever the chain of sadness created by Hinamizawa syndrome, there was essentially no way for Hinamizawa to break free of its 1,000-year curse. And Irie wasn't here. Plus, Irie was my only ally who knew I was the Queen Carrier. That ally was gone. The strange way Satoko was talking. The absence of my only ally from Tokyo. Irie. Oh, it was Tokyo. Right, okay. My bad. No doubt some unpleasant die had landed on a 1. Then despite my ally Irie not being here, was Takano still behind everything? When you get one bad roll, you get a bunch more. Dr. Takano passed away quite a while ago. Oh, so this isn't Hifumi. Okay. Got it. The name comes from that splendid doctor who built such a wonderful clinic in this village. Yeah, because he was researching Hinamizawa syndrome, right? Someone I never had the chance to meet, but a splendid doctor if there ever was one, I hear.
Splendid doctor?
Would the occult-obsessed Takano ever be praised as a splendid doctor? And she passed away a while ago? They mean Hifumi. When I looked around the examination room, I found a picture of some old people hanging in a frame. On it was written, founder and first director, Hifumi Takano, right?
Hifumi Takano?
Wasn't that the man Takano looked up to, who she called her grandfather? He was the first one to discover the Hinamizawa syndrome, but nobody accepted his theories about it, and he passed away in despair. So, in this world, his plea was accepted? Takano had understood his chagrin and eventually made a big decision, then began to build a future so stable you could call it fate. That Takano? Another person named Takano? Not the founder? Can't say I know them. None of the nurses are named that anyway. Maybe it was an old nurse who retired before I got here.
I don't think so. She's a young woman.
There's nobody here by that name. If there was a nurse like that, I definitely want her to work here. Okay, I think someone else needs to get hit in the head with a ball. So, would she still be going by, Miyoko Tanashi, then, in this world? The man guffawed with delight. He certainly didn't look like he was lying. He was speaking the truth. Then even Takano is gone? Irie was absent, Takano was absent, so Tomatake's probably not here either. The Irie Institute didn't have its director or vice director. What did that all mean? Who was the director then? Oh, and what about the mountain dogs? The Irie Institute was, at its heart, a research institution. Without them acting as its hands and feet, it couldn't exist.
Is there a landscaping company here called Okanogi Gardeners?
Huh? Landscapers? Couldn't tell ya. Never had to call one of them myself. Wouldn't really know. Where are they from?
I thought they had an office in Okinomiya.
Why not look them up in a phone book later? Individual people sometimes don't show up in them, but I think most companies should be in there.
Could the Irie Institute not exist in this world? Well, clearly, girl. Would that mean this world didn't have a dead end at all?
I couldn't figure anything out. Which dice were showing 1 and which were showing 6? Or was the stranger part the dots on the dice themselves? The game board I was a piece on now, and the game board I knew, were they different? Someone else is gonna cause problems? Oh fuck, I sure hope it's not Chie. Let's be a little more optimistic. Was it possible that Tokyo hadn't chosen Irie, but this man instead? Then would this man know I was the Queen Carrier? If he did, then a number of things would fall into place. The prudence of giving me a brain scan after just getting knocked over by a ball to the head. Wasn't that because he knew I was special? That I was the Queen Carrier? Then was this man playing the role of Irie in this world? I looked at the name tag on the robe he put on after coming into the room and read the name.
Yamamoto.
Yes? It was a natural response. It seemed the name Yamamoto wasn't a problem. Was this Yamamoto person the director of the Irie Institute? Or rather, the Yamamoto Institute? Wouldn't it be the Takano Institute? Whatever. Well, no, yeah, because they are... Irie Institute and Irie Clinic are different, right? It was also possible that he'd crowned this clinic with the Takano name in commemoration of him succeeding Hifumi Takano's research.
Yamamoto, do you know what the Hinamizawa syndrome is?
The Hinamizawa what?
Do you know about me being the Queen Carrier, or anything?
Queen? Rika-chan, you seem to me like you're still a princess. Do you want to be a queen when you grow up? You dream big. Okay, there we go. You can take it off now. I learned from just that short exchange that Yamamoto had nothing to do with the Hinamizawa syndrome. There were a few people unconnected to Tokyo in the Irie Institute too, but they were only a small handful of nurses and office workers. And besides, the Queen Carrier was currently in the clinic. Anyone connected to the Hinamizawa syndrome would have come rushing to me. Yamamoto had rushed to me, but he didn't know I was the Queen Carrier. What did that mean? I listened hard to try and catch the sound of Irie's indiscreet laughter, but all I heard was the TV in the waiting room and the motor of the goldfish aquarium. That maid-obsessed man with his ulterior motives during checkups was nowhere to be seen in the examination room. It was simply uncomfortable, and the smells of dust and medicine made me feel unpleasant. Now I knew. This really wasn't the clinic I knew. It wasn't just a strange feeling anymore. It was a clear fact now. Yamamoto left for a moment, then came back and told me there was nothing wrong with my readings. If you feel alright, you can go back to school now. Afternoon class will start soon, so I can take you there if you need a ride. Can you go to school yourself?
Meep.
Meep isn't a yes or no. Which will it be?
Yes. I'm fine. I can go back to school myself.
I see. Then get going. I'll call Chie-sensei and tell her you're coming back.
Oh.
When I saw Yamamoto pick up the phone on the table, I spotted a tabletop calendar next to it. It's 1983, isn't it? June Showa 58. Which one is that? Showa 58. What was that in AD again? The Pacific War ended in Showa 20, which was 1945. 58 minus 20. I'm bad at borrowing, but luckily I don't need it. 58 minus 20 equals 38? Good job! Yes, 38 plus 20 is definitely 58. Then if you add 38 to 1945, 45 plus 38 is 83? Yeah. It's 1983? June? Wasn't that the same period of time I had just been living in? But, that's impossible. In 1983, Satoshi is here? And Irie isn't here. Takano isn't here. Satoko is acting strangely, and even Hanyu is gone. Where am I? Hanyu, I know you're wasting time somewhere. Get over here with your ow-ows and tell me what kind of world this is. I walked through downtown on my way back to school. All the storefronts were familiar, nothing had changed. But for some reason, there were less people, and more stores with their shutters closed. This apparent state of decline reminded me of New Year's or New Year's Eve. It was a strange sight during the season when you could hear cicadas crying. I barely passed anyone, and even when old people walked by, they didn't talk to me. Normally, if I met an old person in the middle of the day like this, they'd ask if I had a cold and was staying home from school, or they'd start rubbing their prayer beads and saying weird things. There was none of that. Just like the old people in the clinic, they reacted with disinterest. I wasn't in the mood for it anyway, so I was thankful they didn't do any of that. But there was already a heap of oddities before me, and I couldn't help but feel like it was growing even bigger. Afternoon break was long over by the time I got back to school, and it was now time for afternoon classes. And Keiichi's gonna be in there somewhere. I went through the entrance and changed into my slippers. And then I noticed another strange thing. There were a lot of empty shoe cubbies. Empty was different from absent. Anyone enrolled would either leave slippers or regular footwear in their locker, no matter what. If neither were present, that meant they weren't in this class to begin with. Sometimes people took their slippers home to wash during the weekends, but any lockers being empty during the day was unthinkable. I counted a little over 10 pairs of shoes. That was only half of how many people were in the school I knew. Everything was so messed up, I had no idea what was going on. I steeled myself and opened the classroom door. Everyone turned around to look at me. There truly were only half of the familiar classmates there, and they weren't absent, because only half as many seats were actually in the classroom. But you'll have to imagine that part.
Furude-san, please take your seat. Alright, everyone. This is class time, so focus on your drills.
Chie clapped her hands, and everyone looked back down at their desks and workbooks, ignoring me altogether. My seat. Satoshi was sitting at the desk next to Satoko's. That didn't seem to be my seat. Then, where was it? Soon I found an open seat, looking small and quiet in the back near the window. I could tell from the pattern of the floor cushion with my disaster hood in it. Your disaster hood? That seemed to be Rika Furude's seat in this world. It was in the corner, as though the classroom had forgotten about it. There were no seats next to it, and nobody would see it when looking at the blackboard. In a place where I wouldn't block anyone's view, whether or not I wasn't here. That seat was almost symbolic of how I'd been feeling ever since I awoke. I sat down and took out my workbook. Then, pretending to study, I looked around the classroom. Mion Sonozaki was here. She didn't seem very different. Reno Ryugu was here too. The way she was helping the child in the next seat over with his work was very like her. Satoko and Satoshi were studying together as friendly siblings. Satoshi, being the older brother, was teaching her things, but Satoko looked disgruntled and his words went in one ear and out the other. To me, it was almost like she didn't hate studying, she just didn't like their roles being reversed, since she looked after him at home, and it made me smile a little. I still felt a tiny pain in my chest from Satoko's cold treatment of me in the nurse's office, but as far as I could tell by looking at her individually, she seemed totally normal. But I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong there. When Satoko was with Satoshi, she was often gloomy because of problems at home or their aunt's abuse, so they were acting like normal siblings. And though I knew it was rude to Satoko, that felt wrong. But if Satoko had a normal life, that was fine. The bigger shock, though, was the absence of the most important person in our group of friends. Keiichi's not here? I looked around the room several times for him, but he wasn't here. Keiichi Mayabara wasn't here. I made multiple excuses, like I wasn't seeing right or he happened to be absent today. But even the list of students on cleaning duty hanging on the wall didn't have Keiichi's name on it. Everyone in the class would have had their names on there, but Keiichi's wasn't. Keiichi Mayabara did not exist in this classroom, even though it was June of 1983 in this world. I see. On rare occasions, there would be a world where Keiichi hadn't moved here. It wasn't the first time, but it was a sad thing. Keiichi was an important key to crushing the fate of June 1983. If he wasn't on the game board, then this game was predetermined to be a loss. But was this even a game at all? No Irie, no Irie, no Takano. No signs of the Institute from Tokyo researching Hinamizawa syndrome. If none of them were here, didn't that mean there was nobody at all to fight? If I didn't need to fight, then, in a sense, Keiichi's absence wasn't an issue. Actually, in this case, June 1983 wasn't fated to be a dead end, and, in other words, in this world, the 1,000 dice all turned up ones, and that changed that absolute fate Takano had constructed with her certain willpower into something else? I had no idea what was what. Could this world even be explained by what dots came up on the dice? Where am I? Someone, tell me. Obviously unable to focus during class, my head was filled with the listless cries of the cicadas and the feeling of being out of place that I couldn't get rid of. Everybody, stand up! Bow! Goodbye! I can't do 3 voices at once. I happen to only have one of my own. Thankfully, Mion was still class president. For some reason, that was a relief. Oh, was there even a club in this world? If I could receive the baptism of those crazy club games, maybe it would clear up my feelings a little. On days we had club, she'd always call all the members right when school ended. Expecting that, I stayed in my seat as everyone ran out into the hallway. Satoko was one of those who dashed out. She was flying headlong towards the entrance, jostling the other kids her age. Satoshi left too, following behind her. Mion and Rena talked to each other as they got ready to leave. As far as it looked, we didn't have club. The club was annoying at times, but I yearned for it so much now. Was there no club in this world? As I started to feel lonely, I saw a grin spread across Mion's face before she and Rena approached me. Normally that grin would look gross, but when Mion did it, it didn't feel bad. Our eyes met. Thank goodness. Even this world had the after-school club it was supposed to. Hey, Rika-chama! Got a moment before you go home?
Is it club?
For the first time since coming to this world, I smiled. I had no idea what was going on in this world, so having one of my hopes come true made me very happy for the moment. No, not that. You're on duty tomorrow, right? Here's the logbook. And club? Huh? What, did you want to be in my club too, Rika-chan? I gleaned 2 things from Mion's few words. One was that I still wasn't a club member. The other was that, even so, the club still existed. For me, right now, that was an incredibly happy thought. Then, Rika Furude, I hereby grant you permission to join my club.
Mi-chan, you're being weird.
Rena laughed like it was a funny joke. But why? She's just playing off of you. But even if you're in the same club, you still can't do club things with us.
Why not?
I mean, your house and my house are in opposite directions, right? Oh. When Mion said her club, she probably meant the club of not having a club. The going home club. And she must have been saying we went home in different directions, which was why I couldn't do club activities. Going home together with her. In other words, the club doesn't exist in this world either.
Mi-chan, can't we have club activities with Rika-chan once in a while?
But we go in opposite directions.
Maybe it's okay from time to time, maybe.
After I realized I'd have to go home all alone, Rena said she'd leave school with me. That kind consideration was just like the Rena I knew so well. We didn't have club, but Mion and Rena were still Mion and Rena. Sorry, but I'll have to pass. I gotta get back quick for my job at my uncle's place.
Oh, then Rika-chan and I will have our after-school going home club. Thank you, Rena.
The 3 of us headed for the entrance. Our outdoor shoes were the only ones left.
There are fewer slippers here than I remember.
Yes, I decided to naturally mention it. Rena responded right away.
It's lonely, but what can we do?
As they say, you gotta look for a nice big tree when you seek shelter. Anyway, sorry about this, but I'm gonna get going. I'll leave Rika-chan's escort to you, Reina. Oh, okay.
Okay. Reina? Yes? What is it? Nothing.
Rena was the kind Rena I knew, but her name wasn't Rena. Reina. That was Rena's real name, but in the worlds I knew, she'd thrown it aside. Which meant she hadn't given up being Reina? Or her path leading to today was different from the one in the worlds I knew? I knew Rena hated herself because she considered herself responsible for her mother's divorce. And as she'd messed up both her life and herself, she would have decided to part ways with that old self, start over, and rename herself Rena. But that didn't happen? That wasn't the only thing I learned from this conversation either. Regarding the number of people in the class, when I mentioned there weren't many people, they acted like there was a reason. That meant the current number of students in this world hadn't been that way from the start. It had decreased to this number. Mion ran off, and Rena and I left school together. When we went across the schoolyard, I saw Satoko fooling around playing tag. So there was obviously another school, right? I guess. Wasn't there one in Okinomiya, like one that they described? Or is that just the one Shion goes to and I'm conflating it?
Are you looking at Satoko-chan?
Me. Her name was different, but she still picked up on these things quickly. The text still says Rena, but whatever.
I'm sure Satoko-chan wasn't trying to be mean when she hit you with the ball. Forgive her, okay? I don't really mind.
Reina seemed to be trying to smooth it over. It kinda sounded like Satoko and I weren't normally friendly with one another. So I asked,
Are Satoko and I not friends? Of course you are. You're both in the same class.
Very dismissive response, yeah. The way she said that was enough of an answer. Now I knew why Satoko acted so coldly to me in the nurse's office. In this world, Satoko and I weren't friends. Maybe that made sense. After all, if Satoshi was alive and well, then Satoko would spend all her time with him. The reason Satoko and I got to the point we could call close was because Satoko ended up all alone. I asked her to stay at my house, and we started living together. So, Rika's parents are very obviously still alive. Satoko's parents are very obviously still alive. And who was the first? Well, that was just, someone making the dam? What were they making again? The construction worker who died, he'd obviously still be alive if they're even in the village. But if they're not even in the village, then would there be a disconnect between the rest of the town and the Hojos? Of course, we were friends before that too, just nowhere near how close we were in 1983. Or after. Maybe in the end, our relationship was nothing more than me sitting in Satoshi's empty seat. When I thought about that, when I considered what would happen if Satoshi was around in June 1983, maybe this was the most natural future. With regretful eyes, I watched as Satoko frolicked about. Satoko looked like she was having a lot of fun with her other classmates. She wouldn't ever notice me going home from school. I'm going to stop thinking about it so much. Before the true world I need to reach, this world is all but a defective one. I don't need to bother trying to understand a broken world. Okay, so I see what they're implying with this world. Like, there's literally nothing wrong, but Rika still doesn't like it because it's not the world she knows. So, yeah, even if no one had to suffer, the world where everyone did suffer is what's preferable to her, I suppose. But yeah, it looks like they're not going to give me a chapter break, so I guess I'll end the episode here. A healthy enough amount of time, I believe, for a pilot episode. So yeah, again, reminder, please be sure to tell me what to do after I'm done with these 3 arcs, or any other things that I should know. Please and thank you. Otherwise, yeah, I'm having fun. It's good to be back in Hinamizawa, even if it's a very weird and different one. That's definitely more intriguing, as an opener, I believe. So, yeah. That's gonna be it for this episode, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button, and if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!